So, the Netherlands is calling, and tonight we are going to have a conversation about how, as an African student, you can apply for the fully funded scholarship at the Wageningen University. So, today we have invited a scholar to give us insights. Her name is Omobolanle Blessing Kalenikanse, and she's going to tell us more about her experience in Netherlands and all you as an international student should expect. So before we start the conversation, you should look forward to getting information about how and where you should get this scholarship, how you can apply for this scholarship, and the documents you need to prepare, the application process, including the interviews, the funding that as a student you are expected to get, and the expenses you are expected to meet on that other side, and life of an international student during your studies in the Netherlands. Hi, Blessing.
Hi, nice to be on your channel.
Welcome for the chat. So it is a pleasure to have you on the podcast.
Thank you so much.
So who is Blessing?
Yeah, thank you so much. Blessing is currently a doctoral researcher at the Tiagas Agricultural Research Center in Highland, and more importantly, an OKP awardee at the Wageningen University of Research, where I studied my master's program in animal science. And just to cap it, I'm a Nigerian, and I'm a Nigerian with a first class graduate from Bachelor from Federal University of Agriculture, Abeokuta in Nigeria.
Okay. So, what is the ASP?
Yeah, that's the African Scholarship Program. It's a scholarship that is being offered mainly to African students to pursue their academic degree in Wageningen University and Research in the Netherlands.
Tell me more about this institution, because there are a lot of institutions in Netherlands, right? Now that you spent your time in Netherlands, you've studied there for quite some time. I don't know if you've learned how to speak Dutch, but we'll get to that very soon. But then, now I'm seated here listening to this conversation, and I want to make my application to this scholarship. I need to know all the information that I need to provide, and even if I'm actually qualified to be an applicant. So how do I know that I'm a qualified candidate for this scholarship?
Okay, so just to start with, like I mentioned, this is a specific scholarship for Wageningen University and Research in the Netherlands. So the first thing you do is to go onto the university website and check for your program. For someone like me, I'm interested in animal science. Then I look out for the requirement for masters in animal science. And the way the Dutch institutions run generally is like you need to apply for admission first, then you get nominated for a scholarship. And the way the admission process works is that there is a general Dutch platform or a portal, let me put it, we call it Study Link, where your documents are first being verified. Then you can now go ahead to the university portal to submit your application document for admission. And the general admission document is your transcript, your bachelor certificate, your personal statement, your CV, your English proficiency test, your recommendation letter. So these are the key things, your passport for admission. So once you've submitted that at the university level, then probably around 4 to 8 weeks, they get back to you concerning your admission status. So once you are being offered admission, I think we have 2 rounds of admission in the year. That's February and September application. So mostly scholarship comes in for students that apply around the September period, which is the fall. So once you get your admission, there is, depending on the quality of, not everybody gets nomination for scholarship anyway. So depending on the quality of your admission application, then once the admission close around January 31st, they start sending out nominations around February, March period to candidates that they want to nominate for scholarship. So targeting African students mainly, right, for ASP, they send out the nomination offer to them, and they tell you what next to do to apply for the scholarship. So the main requirement for ASP is that you must be an African, you must be someone with an African citizenship. So like the name implies, African scholarship program. So it's mainly for African students. Then the next thing is that you must have applied for a master's program in the university, and you must have been given an unconditional admission offer from the university. So from there, you must also demonstrate like being an excellent student. Previously, it was mainly for first class, but now it's open to any African student that is able to showcase the intellectual capacity to excel in such university. So those are the requirements to get nominated for the African scholarship program. So just to, I don't know if I can walk you through with the application process, or but that's just how it works: admission first, then nomination for the scholarship.
So let's tackle this admission first. So you mentioned the documents that I need to submit, which are more or less common documents for scholarship applicants. But you also said that I will be admitted and then be nominated so that I can get the scholarship. Do I need to show anywhere in my application that I am interested in this scholarship, or this is going to just come because by default I'm African?
No, you don't need to show it. They know that the reason why you are applying is there is no international student that can afford 20,000 euro tuition fee, maybe on basis deliberately, but so they know you are applying to get nominated for scholarship. All you need to put into your letter is just the main reason why you are applying for the master's program in the with the institution. So it's based on their own discretion to nominate you, because it's not only ASP, we also have ABF, which is also a fully funded scholarship that African students can benefit from. So they can also nominate you. By the time when OKP was also out there, they nominate students for different. So it's based on their own discretion to nominate students for which scholarship they feel you can fit in best for and apply for it.
Allow me to interrupt this conversation and bring something to your attention. Since we launched this podcast a few months ago, we've had over 50,000 people watching our episodes, which we are very thankful for, and over 12,000 hours. However, we are currently trying to build our audience so that we can get the leverage to invite more guests to our podcast, and we can continue bringing more insights. As you can see in one of these slides, and I bet that's here, at least 80.7% of the people watching our podcasts are not subscribers to this channel. And what we are currently focusing on is building our audience. So I'm requesting that if you may like to support us, if you like what we are sharing, you support our channel by clicking that subscribe button so that we can grow. Our promise is to continue bringing you strong guests with more insights so that we can bring these conversations
For and
where you
apply
are.
for it.
Well, there is a requirement that I should have at least 80% in my bachelor's degree or a first class. So what does this mean exactly?
Well, at the moment for admission, it's a second class upper, not necessarily first class for admission in Wageningen University. So it's not necessarily a first class. Then for this ASP scholarship, it was previously first class students that were being nominated for this scholarship. But now that the funding for OKP has closed, and they are trying to open it up more for more African students to apply. So I think they sort of also give second-class upper students the opportunity to apply for the scholarship. So it's not necessarily for first class alone.
So how should I write my application for the masters? And for the listeners, just I wanted to clarify this. As it has already been mentioned, this application is in two stages. So what we are currently discussing is the application to the masters, and we will soon come to the application for the scholarship, which comes on nomination. So, Blessing, once you submit your application, you mentioned that I need to submit something like my SOP or a personal statement, right? Is this a letter or is this an essay?
Yeah, it's more of a personal statement or a motivational letter, just like a one-page document, whereby you are just to give a short introduction about yourself, like, okay, who you are, why. The most emphasis is like, why are you interested in this program? So for someone like me, what I just told them, like, okay, I gave a short story of my background, how I developed passion for animal science, why I want to study my master's in animal science in the Netherlands, as well as my career plan afterwards, what I'm going to do with the master's certificate or the degree afterwards. So it's just a general, I feel it's just more of what you submit for other scholarship program, and what they are also looking for is just your passion and enthusiasm to actually go through that process of learning, because they all understand that coming from your home to learn in such an environment like that, it's something that you should be ready for it. So I think that just, it is not really a complicated um essay or personal statement to say.
So, it means I only have to describe my background and how it leads me to pursue this specific program. Does it fund all programs?
Yes, for all programs in Wageningen University. So this ASP is open for all programs.
Now that you've received your application, I mean, like you've received your admission letter, when did you get your admission?
That was okay. I think I submitted my application around September, October. Then I got my admission letter December, like middle of December. Yeah.
And your nomination?
Then my nomination came in around March, early March. Yeah.
So, what does the nomination say?
Yeah, it's just like, oh, congratulations, you've been nominated to apply for this scholarship. So for me, back then it was OKP. I also got ASP like 2 weeks after. I was also nominated for ASP as well. So I was nominated for two scholarships, because on the basis of the fact that I was a first class back then. So yeah, it's just like a letter stating that you have been invited for this, to apply for this scholarship, and what you need to do, and the deadline for the application of the scholarship.
So, now that we are discussing about ASP, you get nominated sometime in March, and you are told now submit your application for the ASP scholarship. What do we mean by an application for the ASP scholarship?
Okay, so basically, it's just like they give you a task or an assignment to do, and it's in two phases. The first phase is a research proposal that aligns to the program you applied for, that you gained admission for. So you have to submit a research proposal that details the research background, which is also known as the problem statement, the objectives, the methodology, and probably few references, no more than 2 pages. So, and the way this proposal has to do with something you want to solve, mainly in your country. So, because they are trying to sponsor you to get the knowledge and capacity and possibly go back home to also invest what you've acquired in developing your country. So when you are trying to submit a research proposal like that, it's always advisable to use a case study in your country. So that's the first assignment that you are given, a research proposal, aligning to your program and possibly something related to your country. Then the next one is a personal statements, like essays. We call it essays, and it has like 4 questions that you need to answer. So one of it is like, okay, what makes you an excellent student apart from your grade? Another question is like, why are you pursuing this master's program? What's your motivation for applying for this program? Then what are your career plans after this your master's program? Then the fourth question that is being asked is that in case you were not offered this scholarship, what will you do? So those are the 4 key questions in the essay, and I think it's 600 words in total. So for each of the questions, like just target 150 words. But then you can use more, you can say more in some essay questions and say less in the other ones, but altogether your response should not be more than 600 words.
So we are looking at one block essay that we are supposed to answer all the 4 questions. Well, and this goes for 600 words. We are just coming back to the proposal, but let's look into this essay first. So you are asked, why you? I mean, what is good about you than more than just grades? What are they looking for here?
So, to the best of my knowledge, I think what makes you more outstanding beyond your academic prowess. Take, for instance, maybe how you handle leadership, volunteering, community development. Because when you look at the whole team of Wageningen, it's more into sustainability, development, and everything. So, beyond your grades, I know they place emphasis on grades like first class and 2-1, but what do you have to offer the community at large? So that is where you need to also think of what you've done in terms of maybe addressing a how do I call it, a big issue in your society. I know during NYSC you go for community development, you do more volunteering that aligns to sustainable development goals. So all these little things that you've done in time past, how are you able to showcase excellence in all these things? So that's for me what I think they are looking for with their hands with that question.
So you said I can answer with as many words as possible, provided that I stick for all the 4, like 600 words in total. Now we go to the next question. It says, why this program? So you chose a specific master's program. You're supposed to apply to only one program, right? So I have chosen a master's program in agronomy, for example. And I have to answer this question, why the MSc program? So what information do I need to put into this answer so that it sounds like a reasonably good answer from your experience?
So much, but I would prefer to use case study of animal science instead.
Okay, sure. It's okay because I know that is your area of specialization, so you are better placed to discuss more.
That's my own field. So
Yeah.
I could remember back then I was at the International Livestock Research Institute, and I tried to figure out a problem statement, like in sense of the issue of the nomadic ranching with those of crop farmers. So there was this issue between the nomads and the farmers due to insufficient pasture or grazing system, and as a result of that, so I sort of coined my word that there is need for more expertise with the knowledge of pasture establishment that is able to sufficiently feed both the animals, and in turn, how do I call it? And in turn, reduce this crisis or conflict that is going on between these two groups of farmers. So I felt like, okay, on that basis, there is need for me to acquire more knowledge, because now they were doing something, a program in animal science that has to do with extensive grazing and pastoralism, because normally my specialization was pasture and range management. So that's how, for me, I'll just say you need to come from the point of trying to solve a problem. That's the main thing. Like, you need to identify a knowledge gap in your field and look for how to link it up with your passion for studying this particular program. So at the end of this day, this is also going to lead you to the next question, which is your career plan.
Okay, now let's just go into it directly then.
So by the time you said, oh, this is the main reason, this is the problem you want to address, and that is your main motivation for pursuing this master's program, you must now come down to the point that, okay, once you are done, your plan, my plan, for instance, was to become a top researcher in organization like International Livestock Research Institute, whereby we can conduct more research on how to conduct more research on how to grow more pastures in northern sites of Nigeria, not only in the southern part because of temperate and everything, and also to mentor young animal science professionals to be able to bridge the gap between science and as well as the real life application. So these are those things that I also mentioned. So you are trying to state a problem, why you need to go for the program, and how you intend to solve that problem. So it's like a link that is also going around. So this is where they also know if you are being honest or you are just trying to come up with stories that's not really possible or achievable. So you must make sure that your story sort of links up to one another. So that's just basically what I put down for my own how do I call it? For my essays.
So, how far ahead should I look when I'm writing my future plans?
Basically 3 to 5 years. Three
Mhm.
to 5 years. Although for me, I also stated like, okay, the next thing I was going to also pursue my how do I call it, my doctoral degree, because at least that was one of those things that I need to be a top researcher. I can't finish my masters and say I want to be a researcher. So all these things I also tied it together. So 3 5 years and above. So it's just something that it has to be realistic and achievable. So don't say something that's outside context that they'll feel like, okay, you're just trying to um probably I don't know how to call it, exaggerate. Yeah, so that's just it.
So, you are applying for a scholarship because sometimes it can be difficult to find yourself. You know, these developed countries' education system is very expensive relative to what we have in other countries, like in Nigeria, for instance. And also, this applies for all the African countries. So, it means that sometimes if you have admission, but you don't get the scholarship, you may not be able to fund yourself to go there. And I'm sure this is the fourth question you are asked, like, what would you do in case you don't get this scholarship? And what did you say?
So for this particular question, you need to be honest. We are all humans, so you need to show your vulnerability in the sense that, oh, it's going to be disappointing for you because this is the main reason why you intend to study. But beyond that, that won't stop you for applying from other opportunities to make sure that you achieve those previous goals that you stated earlier. So they want to see your vulnerability, they want to see your passion, they want to see your resilience and commitment at that point in time. Is it that, okay, because we couldn't offer you this, does that stop you from achieving your main career plans or your academic goals? So you just need to put it in a short word like, okay, this is going to eat me, blah, 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 blah. but at the same time, it's an opportunity for you to look out for opportunities elsewhere to continue your master's program or your academic pursuit. So that's just it.
So if I receive an offer at that word, Wageningen, and I'm sitting with my offer. I don't know if they also offer both conditional and unconditional. But then I have my offer here. Does it guarantee that I'm going to get a scholarship
You mean for the scholarship or for the
for
admission?
the admission?
Okay, so having the admission does not guarantee that you have the scholarship.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just like when you go through the whole process of nominated, going for the essays and everything. Not everyone that gets nominated that gets the scholarship because it's few slots. And you can imagine a lot of people that put in for the admission. So it doesn't guarantee it.
Yeah, and there are a lot of actually high quality applicants, which also goes to speak about people making very strong applications. And one of the ways you are demonstrating how strong your application is by writing a good proposal, right? So a proposal is one of the documents besides the essay. And you mentioned briefly about the proposal, but I will begin with this. Are you given a format on how to write a proposal?
No, you're not given a format. The only thing that they tell you is that it's make sure that it includes a problem statement or a research background, objective and methodology with references, and it should be less than 2 pages.
So it is less than 2 pages. It has references, right? So the first thing, let's just try to imagine now that you are a PhD. At least this is something you've done somewhere. So the first thing we are looking at is what? Introduction. Then objectives. Then your methodology. Then now you can put your references because you have only 2 pages, right? So you have to be very careful with not to be too wordy, again, not to say too little. But guys, I think there are a lot of resources out there about how you can write a good research proposal. I may be tempted to leave something in the description of this video, but if you can't find one, please go online and check. There are a lot of resources about how to write good research proposals. But now the final part, which is related to this specific scholarship application process, comes in with something we call an interview, where now you get to sit with the selection panel. They get to ask you questions. How does a scholarship interview look like?
Well, from experience, I know after the setup, the greetings, the panel introduce themselves first. This is who I am and everything, and they throw the question to you as well, like, oh, tell us about yourself. So this is where you also have to introduce yourself, like as a student, like probably your past achievements and everything, your work experience, your research experience. Because for me, I went so detailed with the introduction, although some people be like, oh, you just need to say it very brief and everything. But then it's it, your starting point is where you build the first impression, right? That you are able to give them a detailed overview that at the end of the day, they'll be like, okay, what's the next thing we want to ask? Because you've likely answered those questions with that first question, introduce yourself. So that's one thing you need to note. It's like you starting from your past to the current to the future. So it's like, okay, I finished from Federal University of Agriculture with a first class. And on this basis, I went for an internship at International Livestock Research Institute. From there, I was applying for a master. So it's just like a way of telling them who you are and why you are there with them. So that's basically because at the end of the day, maybe the second question they will ask you is why are you applying for that scholarship or for that program? So that's likely going to be the next question. So it would be smart of you to have answered that question along with the first one, but then it's up to you to also use your discretion based on when you look at the countenance of the panel, you look at their body language and everything. So I think that's one thing that you should also note when you are in an interview session.
Most of these interviews nowadays are done online. And people tend to take online interviews informally. I don't know why. But at least some people also have gotten to know better about this. So considering that one person is maybe in Mozambique, another one is in Algeria, another one is in South Africa, another one is in Nigeria, another one is in Uganda, it will be it may not be possible to have all of them travel to Netherlands for an interview. So they're all probably going to have an online interview, right? How should I handle this online interview, considering that this is now a cross-border thing? The same way we do things in Rwanda is not the same way people do it elsewhere, right? Are there things that I should do as standard practice to make myself presentable and create a good impression?
Yeah, I think the best way to answer this is that first you need to know what you are applying for, like, because everything still boils down to your application and what they'll have something they are looking for in their particular candidates. And this is someone that is able to demonstrate a good fit for that position in terms of your knowledge, your expositions, your skill sets, and your charisma, your enthusiasm in answering questions during the interview. So, one thing I want to start with is your appearance. It matters first. I know most of the interview we have nowadays, they tend to make it more informal, like so you could be more comfortable answering questions and responding to them. So they don't want to put you under unnecessary tension. But at the same time, you must also present yourself a little bit formal, the way you dress, the way you speak, your gesticulations and everything. So it's just like you are presenting, like, how do I call it, to a physical audience, but then the platform is just an online stuff. So you just need to be, how do I call it, to be genuine as much as possible. So there are some questions that even if you have no idea on how to answer it, I know most time people say just come out and say no straight up. But then if there is a way you can just use some idea to say, okay, this is what I know, and I really don't know what you are asking directly. So you can link what you know to what you don't know to answer such a question. So I think that's basically from my own experience. So because most time what they are actually looking for is how you articulate your responses, your thoughts in responding to all these questions, and your passion, your excitement. Because I knew from my interview here, one of those things that my supervisor was very keen about was my level of enthusiasm. It's not like I really answered all the questions accurately, but then my enthusiasm in, like, okay, I want this thing, I know this thing, I want to do this thing. It's one of those things that gave me a leverage in, like, okay, this is the person we are looking for. Because of course PhD is not, it's something that it takes passion for you to say, I just want to wake up and do something like this. And it's also the same thing with any grad program in Western countries. So that's what I would say. I don't know if I answered your questions.
Yeah, of course you did, and you did it very well. Sounds like interviews need good preparation. And there are a lot of ways people can be prepared for interviews. Maybe you can do a mock interview with your friend. You can be involved with a coach. So this is a person who is going to guide you how you are going to do your interview. Or maybe you can involve a mentor. I'm bringing that up because just before we started the conversation, you told me about your mentorship bootcamp that you are about to roll out. Hopefully, it's coming out soon for scholars and other early research graduates. So, what should we expect?
From the mentorship bootcamp, right?
Yes.
Well, basically, in as much I would love to make it open to all, so I'm really trying to target agricultural and animal science students, whereby I'm going to take them through the basics of how to. Because one question that I keep getting is like, I'm just graduating from the university, I don't know where to start from. So now the basis of where exactly, because I've also been there, like you see lots of opportunities, like which one do you actually fit in for? What do you want? So we are going to go through the basis of how to get started with scholarship application, then how to prepare for the application itself in terms of SOP writing, CV writing, recommendation letter, getting all your necessary documents ready before application. So we are going to walk through all the steps by steps and the process of reviewing your document before submission. So it's going to be possibly a 1 month or 2 months training or boot camp, let me say it like that. That's going to take you through the process from the scratch to the end. So that's the whole idea about it.
So, we are recording this conversation in February 2025. I'm listening to this conversation in March 2028, 2027. Should I expect to still be finding these boot camps on a rolling basis annually? Or what is your plan about this?
Yeah, it's meant to be possibly, it depends on people's demand and request anyway. But my plan at the moment is just to make it on a quarterly basis because of my own personal commitment as well.
Okay, I understand. You can be very busy, and I know that for sure. Research is not just a walk in the park. Guys, this is something you really need to take advantage of. And I know we have a lot of scholars out there. Some usually do this specifically for their programs or the area of specialization, and it is good to get this mentorship from a specialist, especially for your area of interest. So if you are interested in in a specific area, try to find a scholar who can mentor you. And for this case now, Blessing is here. So I will leave information in the description of this video on how you can get in touch. So please check it out. We are covering the African Scholarship Program. In the context of ASP, I understand it is a fully funded scholarship. What do I mean when I say it is a fully funded scholarship?
Yeah, when we talk about a fully funded scholarship, I think the main thing you should expect is that your tuition fee is fully covered with your living expenses. And for Wageningen University, the tuition fee for a non-European is around 20,000 euros per annum. So for your 2 years of your master's program, that's covered. Then for your living expenses is around 1,200 euros per month that you get as a as a master's student on the ASP scholarship. Besides that, your travel expenses to and fro is also covered, which is a rare thing compared to that scholarship. Besides that, your visa cost and your insurance cost is also covered with this scholarship. So it's a fully funded scholarship.
So you were at this university. For lack of a better word, let's call it W. I'm really struggling with that name. So you were at Wageningen, and you spent your 2 years there during your masters. You mentioned that this scholarship offers stipend, and it's also going to offer me my flight ticket to and from the Netherlands. So let's have a brief conversation about the expenses that I, as an international student, am going to meet there. Having lived for all this period during your master's, do you think the amount of money that is provided for stipend is enough? But before we answer that question, I'd rather the listener judge if the amount is enough for them or not, right? So we are going to reframe the question. Who provides your accommodation?
Well, on that note of the accommodation, you
Mhm.
are to cater for your accommodation out of your living expenses, like your stipends. So what the university does is like after the offer, they try to link you up to the student accommodation organization. So you register with them and you look out for listings of available apartments or accommodation you want to stay. So in Wageningen, we have four main student buildings that are mostly shared or studio. And an average price for this single room is like around 600 euros. I know it's just increased recently during the Russia-Ukraine war. So previously it was around 350, 400, but now it's on average is 600 euros. So, and that was more reason why they also increased the stipend from around 950 to 1,200 euros as well. So it's out of it. So let's just say 50% of your stipend is going into accommodation. So you still have enough to cater for your feeding as well as if you want to save. So I think that's a good.
You know, I'm from Lagos and I want to live big. So I want to know if this money is enough for me to live big. This 50% I have remaining of my stipend, I need to cater for other expenses. So we are speaking about €1 here. And there are a lot of ways people can weigh how this money is enough to meet their expenses or not. So what other expenses am I looking at as an international student to live comfortably? Not to live extravagantly, and again, not to try to survive. Mhm.
I think the main thing that you need to, as a student, to survive, like your cost is going to be feeding expenses. That's the main thing. Of which, on average, maybe your groceries and your shoppings, if you know how to um take care of yourself very well, probably around 200 euros should be enough, for 300 euros. I just a rough estimate. So that should be enough. Most of the time, people don't use public transport except they are traveling outside the university area. Bicycle is our main medium of transport in Wageningen. So once you have a bicycle, you can always up around the city. So and even if you want to travel outside, there's discounts like for students. If you have this, there's this card, we have the NS card. So you can always get discount price for public transport as a student. Then another thing is like maybe your data subscription, but then if most of the buildings or everywhere you go has internet access, and I really do not see why you need to maybe get a data or subscription. I'm not so sure. But then if you're on campus, you have access. If you're at home, you have access. If you're most of the grocery stores and everything. So I really don't see the need. But then just maybe on the better side, maybe you are traveling and just to follow your Google map or find a way around, you can also do subscription. So all these things are also, it makes it enough for you to how do I call it, to have at least a 10% savings. So that's just it.
We will come to an aspect of making more money shortly. And I know this is something that scholars who are now about to go to the other side, this is a question they get to ask a lot. But before that, it is very highly related to your visa. As an international student from Africa, you need to apply for a student visa to go to Netherlands. Who paid for your visa?
It's a fully funded scholarship and your
Mm-hmm.
visa cost is covered. So I think
Mm-hmm.
I said that earlier. So it's also part of your funding that
Mm-hmm.
has already been paid. So, and the way the visa application sort of works is that the moment you get the offer, you have to send in a certified true copy of your transcript and your certificate, no, transcript alone. So by the time you send it in and they verify that, oh, this tallies with what you sent online, then they'll send you a form, which is an immigration form to apply for. Just all they need is that form. They are the ones to make the application on your behalf. So you fill in the form with your details, send it back to them, and I don't know how they do it, but then they apply for the visa on your behalf. And within some couple of weeks, once the visa has been approved, they tell you to go to book an appointment with a Dutch embassy around you, which we don't have in Nigeria, but we have in Cotonou, and we also have in Ghana. So most people go to Cotonou or Ghana for the to get their visa on their passport. So the booking time also takes a lot of while because so many people would have booked ahead and everything. So that might be a lot of waiting period in between as well. But then it's just you going to the visa process has already been done. You don't have to struggle unlike other scholarship and even get rejected at the end of the day. So what they do is like you just once it has been approved, you just take your passport. They also verify, do your biometrics and everything. Then you go back for to get your visa. So that's just it. So it's not like you having to go through the stage like by yourself, like every steps of it by yourself.
So, do you attend any visa interview?
It wasn't really an interview for me.
How did it go? Where did you apply your visa in the first place?
It was at Cotonou. I used the Cotonou Embassy,
Mm-hmm.
Republic of Benin.
Mm-hmm.
So that was it. So and when I got there, normally I already had list of documents to come along. They also want to verify that what you also submitted is real. So they just did a lot of verification. They already knew I was going on a fully funded scholarship, and it was not as if I was the one that's for the whole university to have applied on my behalf and for them to have gained approval. It's not like I manipulated something in between. So there wasn't much, oh, I saw you got a scholarship and everything. So you intend it's just like a normal conversation for you and the person that is trying to verify your documents that, oh, this is this and this. Why do you want to go for this program and everything? So it's not really a big interview like compared to what I've heard from maybe my friends and colleagues that go for maybe the US visa interview and the like. So it was just, and within 10-15 minutes, you are done. So it's not like a big thing over
And how long do you wait before you get your feedback from the embassy?
from the embassy. It was like 2 or 3 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
So I went to drop my passport, and within 2 or 3 weeks, they told me like, okay, the visa is ready. I can come for it.
Now, on the visa, there are a lot of specifications that come on your visa, your student visa. And I'm a very ambitious person. When I want to go to Netherlands. I want to come back with a lot of naira. So I want to come with a lot of euros so that I can have big money when I go back. So I want to go there and work while I study. Do you think this is possible?
That's a big, big question.
Okay.
Well, to some extent, let me say it's possible because normally you are licensed to work 16 hours in a week.
Mm-hmm.
That's the student's working permit, or 40 hours full time during the summer. So you either go for the 16 hours option or you go for the 40 hours option, which is just for the summer break. I think that's June, July, August, that 3 months. And that's it. But From my own experience, let me just now put it like that. It's always because as an international student, the knowledge gap is a bit wide. Like you want to catch up with the system. So even when you are returning back home in the evening, you don't want to think of work. You want to think of trying to catch up with assignments, project work, and the likes. So even your weekend goes into it. So most of the time, people find it difficult to work in the first 6 months until when you've settled down and have a grasp of how the system actually works. So that's why most people, even if they have to work at all, they make it around the summertime. That's okay, at least you are done with your coursework, and the following year is just about your thesis and your internship. So you have that full time to work as much as you can. So, but at the start, I personally won't advise anyone for that since you are already getting a fully funding. So then, if you now feel like you've able to settle down and get how the system works properly, then okay, you can now add work to your studies. Yeah, that's my own advice.
So this is a 2-year master's program. How many breaks do you get?
Okay, for the first year, you have the December break alone.
Mm-hmm.
That's the break you have, like maybe around 15th of December. I know they close around middle of December till the first week of January.
Mm-hmm.
Then the next break you can get is maybe the normal Easter break, Friday and Monday. Then apart from that, I think they have one that they call the King's Holiday and everything too. But it's not really of a big holiday. The main holiday in between for your first year is your December break, which is like 2 weeks or 3 weeks at a stretch. After that, the main holiday you have is your summer break, which is until June, July. Yeah, that's the main time you go on a long break again. Any other one is just 1 day or 2 days, and that's it. You keep going.
So I think it's up to everyone who will be going to that side to decide if they can work or not. At least you know you have your 16 hours per week. And you also have 40 hours during your break. But don't forget what took you there. So it is up to you now to go on that side and then try to weigh if you can handle it or not. But take it from Blessing that at least for the first few weeks or months, it is not going to be an easy thing because you are going to try to catch up. And catching up in a new country, it's not, I can tell you for sure, it's not easy because you will be struggling with a lot of things. You are struggling with the language, you're struggling with the curriculum, you're struggling with the climate. I mean, like there are a lot of things. Even
Yeah,
even
and
even the way the program is
the way
structured.
Wageningen is that they don't run it on semester periods like other
Mhm.
people, like other universities, sorry. It's like the first we have periods, so period 1 to 6. So for each period, like period 1 and 2, actually lasts 8 weeks. So for the first 6 weeks, you are attending lectures intensively, like every day, morning, evening. Then the seventh week is like a week off, like a study week before your exam in the 8th week. So definitely you are going to take your exams exactly 2 months after you start your program. And there is not going to be an holiday after that 8th week, after that first period. You are resuming for another period immediately. So by the time you think, okay, I'm done with the exam, let me rest. No, you are starting another courses entirely. And it also follows that format of like 6 weeks. After the lectures and everything, study week, you go into exam. So that's when you now have the December break. Then week 3 starts again. That one is for 4 weeks. So you take your classes for 3 weeks. you take the exam. So it's just like you are finishing one course to start another course, finishing one. So there is no time for you to say, even trying to say I want to look for work, because you are trying to catch up
Yeah.
with the old
With the
system and the old curriculum of like
with
from one courses to another courses. So that's how I think that's how the system works, and it's just better to give yourself enough time to actually know like why you are here, and it's just to excel academically and just follow that course at least for the first 6 months.
yeah, so it's more or less like you're catching up with everything and everything.
Yeah.
Now, about that, it brings me to ask, when did you receive your confirmation of travel? How did you know that now it's time to go to Netherlands? Were you given a ticket or did you have to buy it then you are refunded?
Mm, this is how it works in the sense that the moment you get your visa from the embassy,
Mhm.
that's always around August. Normally, you are expected to resume in the Netherlands in August, because the academic section starts around the last week of August or early September. And of course, you need time to settle in your apartment. Probably you are learning to ride a bicycle. You need to know where the groceries. So they expect you to arrive in August just for you to get familiar with the environment and how everything works before classes start in September. So immediately you are getting, just assume like you get your scholarship offer around June. Before you send in the verification, they apply for the visa. So there's no much time for you by the time you're having the visa. So it's just like, for me, immediately I got my visa, I sent a mail to the university that I want to arrive on this date, and they looked at available flights. They booked the flight for me and they sent me the flight details. So it's not like you need to do it with your money, no. All you need to do is just like, okay, I'm ready to come over. This is the date I want to come. And they look out for flights that are available on that date, and they let you know, are you okay with this one or not? Then once you reach a consensus, they book the flights and they send you your ticket details and you're good to go.
Do you remember your first day when you were flying? Where did you take your flight? Was it Lagos?
Yeah, it was in Lagos.
So, and where did you land?
So because I had a stopover at France, so
Hmm.
yeah, I took a flight from Lagos to France and from France to Amsterdam, Schiphol. So it was more like an overnight flight for me. And that was actually my first time
Hmm.
taking a
Taking a flight.
flight.
Hmm.
So it felt so real for me, like, okay, leaving my loved ones behind and just having that experience of boarding the whole flight for the first time. So it was such like an exciting moment for me personally, and having to now get like have a stopover in France. I need to quickly like, okay, find my way to the next boarding session for my, so I don't miss my flight, because it's just like a 1 hour 2 hours stopping over in between. So, and I already arranged for a driver to pick me up immediately I get to Amsterdam, because normally I had friends and colleagues that were already studying in Wageningen University at that time. So it was easy to communicate with them and let them help me with some arrangements before I arrived. So yeah, on getting to Schiphol, it was like I already have the number, the driver's WhatsApp contact. He told me like I had to connect with the airport Wi-Fi so we can communicate and find each other on time. So yeah, that with the flight experience. Then for my first day in the Netherlands, like I was like, it felt like, am I dreaming? So this is the whole thing I've been looking forward to like all this while. So for me, the feeling was like, is this real? So getting to be in a different man's country for the first time, everybody moving like in the airport. So it was just a bit of exciting moment, like you are trying to find your way around. You don't want to you don't want to get lost. You know
Yeah.
that these people, they are most of Dutch speaking language, although everyone speak English anyway. So
Let's just come to that. In Netherlands, people speak Dutch,
yeah,
but at your university, your mode of instruction was English, right?
yeah,
So when you landed in Amsterdam, is it Amsterdam?
yeah.
So you had somebody pick you from the airport. So that was more or less like an arranged, seamless process. Then they take you to the university, and then what? Leave you there.
Yeah, because normally, based on my communication, like the arrangements that was being made, they've
Hmm.
collected the key to my room, and I think it was given to someone because, despite the fact that it's a Dutch country, you also have a lot of Africans and Nigeria that are also studying in the university. So I had my student building and my room. So I also had other Africans in that building. So they were waiting for me. So it's just like, oh, this is this is the person that is bringing you to your building. The key to your room has also been collected. Everything that needs to be in the room was already arranged there. Someone that also told me that she was going to help me bring food because she knows that it's a long journey. So I received this welcoming stuff from people I already knew before. And just to be honest, in terms of like, okay, yeah, it's a Dutch country, but on average, everyone speaks English, both the young and the adults. So, and it's easy, it makes communication more easier that you might not even be forced to learn the language like other countries. And when people see you on the streets, like everyone is, how do I call it, is warm and welcome. Like they want to interact with you. They want, even if it's just hi, how are you doing? You know, just riding on the bicycle, you ride past people, they smile at you and they greet you. So it's gave me this sense that wow, even from my country where I'm coming, when you see a stranger, you hardly want to relate. You want to be safety conscious, right? But then people here are really open and just welcoming, and that's just their lifestyle generally. So for me, it wasn't an azul or tassel trying to settle in and blend in with the culture or the system over there. Yeah.
Now, I've listened to you and I intend to make an application to this scholarship. Hopefully, I'll get to get this scholarship and maybe I will get another one because there are 3 scholarships that you can be. Okay, at the moment it's just 2 that you can be nominated to. But most importantly of all is I'd like to know more about you as an individual, Blessing, who is Blessing, the kind of thing she does, so that at least I can get to network with you on a not very personal but personal level. Is there a way I can get to see the knowledge you're sharing and every other thing?
Yeah, at the moment now, I'm more of a LinkedIn person. So
Hmm.
if you want to know more about what I do, like with my current research, my thought leadership in the livestock sector and everything, this is a platform where I showcase it. And I also share more tips to actually inspire and help aspiring graduate students. So if you indeed want to know more about this, it's something you can follow me or send a DM or connect with me on LinkedIn. So that's more of a professional platform where everybody can always thrive on. So that's basically where I am at the moment. So later on, I look forward to expanding to other social media platforms.
So we will leave the links to her profile in the description of this video. And whenever we have a new update of new information on how you can reach her, you'll always find all the information in the description. So guys, check the description of this video and you will find on how you can contact her, and hopefully we will get to learn and grow together. So, what is your final message to the applicant?
Wow. Yeah, my final message will be like the rates, like, how do I put it now? Scholarship is becoming more competitive nowadays, even way more beyond what it was 2, 3, 5 years ago. And the only way you can stand out as an applicant is to make sure that you also submit compelling and competitive application documents, starting from your CV, your SOP, and every other. Take it as a personal job, like you are looking for, because these people want to invest millions in you, dollars. So you need to show yourself worthy that you are able to get the spot. And one thing that matters most as well is like, in as much as you are trying to commit your best to all these things, I know rejections will come along your way. It's really a tough one to handle for most applicants. I've been there as well, and I one of those things I try to encourage people is like, that shouldn't stop you, that shouldn't limit you, that shouldn't make you give up. So it's just a way to make you know that you are making progress, and just keep pushing, and until you win, don't stop applying. So that's one key thing. And in all of your ambition to also pursue a grad study in abroad, please don't forget the God factor. Yeah, try your best, put in your best, and once that is done, let God also take over the remaining part of the application process. So that's what I would use to round up.
Okay, so that was Omobolanle Blessing Kalenikanse, and this is the Management Diary. Your host today was Omae Joseph, and until we meet again in the next episode, bye bye.